Hello, Warriors, and welcome to another edition of Now at WHS for Friday, February 24th, 2012. My name is Lindsay Herbert, and I'm your host. Today, I am standing outside the House chambers at the state capitol in Pierre. This week's show will highlight happenings at the 87th legislative session now winding down. We'll take a look at some bills that the Now staff highlighted during their recent trip to the Capitol earlier this month, plus other interesting stories from the halls of the state capitol in Pierre. Now's the time to learn about this year's legislative session. Recently, in the Senate Education Committee, a bill to offer scholarships to students willing to commit to studying skills which are in great demand in South Dakota was discussed. Students who enter high-need programs such as welding at the state's technical schools will get scholarships under the proposed plan. Now, Editor-in-Chief Aaron Gullickson spoke to supporters of the bill and bring us this report.
Thanks, Lindsay. Support for SB 77 in the Senate Education Committee was great. I spoke to Jeff Holcomb, president of the Southeast Technical Institute in Sioux Falls, and others who support the measure to offer scholarships to technical schools. Hi, I'm Now reporter Aaron Gullickson, and I'm here with Jeff Holcomb, president of Southeast Tech in Sioux Falls, asking a couple questions about Senate Bill 77. All right. Why do you believe that this scholarship opportunity is necessary in South Dakota?
One of the great concerns that we have is that manufacturing careers and many technically skilled careers are going unattended in training programs because there isn't an interest from students and they don't see what the career really means. So this will give an opportunity to give us a recruiting tool, a financial scholarship that will allow students who may not have considered this to enter into the program.
All right, and what are some important stipulations or qualifications that go along with this scholarship?
One of the big aspects of this is that the individual who takes this scholarship and completes a program would need to work in South Dakota for a company in order to not have to pay it back. And I think that's a great aspect to our economic development so that we have these workers working in South Dakota for South Dakota companies. That's a wonderful stipulation that we haven't had before. Now, one of the main things in this is that you have to be accepted into a program and you have to have all of the attributes that are necessary to complete the program and get into it first before you can get this particular scholarship.
Would this affect at all the current South Dakota Opportunity Scholarship eligibility for students?
It's my understanding that no, that would not be. One of the things that we have found is that in these manufacturing careers that we don't have Opportunity Scholarship recipients applying or in those programs. So consequently, we don't see those two actually competing in any way. If anything, they would complement each other if there was that opportunity.
About how many students are expected to be aided by this scholarship, and about what amount would they receive?
It'll vary from technical institute to technical institute. At Southeast Tech, I anticipate we'll have somewhere between 20 and 30 students that would be eligible for this. They have to be in a high need program or career, so that would be welding, and we're hoping that electronics will be in that mix as well as drafting. And if we can get those in there, it's all about labor statistics and what the needs are, and then also a partnership with a company who wants to hire that individual when they're done. So it'll be according to that. So I'm saying about 20 to 30.
Right. How will this bill positively affect South Dakota?
Well, we will have 20 to 30 new employees a year that will be working in South Dakota in those high need areas. It's also a recruiting tool for companies that are moving to South Dakota who are looking for these particular skill sets. It's a challenge to get a company to move to South Dakota if they can't find workers. So this is one way to get those workers in place.
All right, thank you very much. Under the plan, graduates will need to find a job in one of the high-need areas in South Dakota and keep that job for a minimum of 4 years to avoid paying back the scholarship loan. SB 77 passed out of committee with a due pass recommendation and will next go to the Appropriations Committee to see if it can get funded. For Now at WHS, I'm Erin Gullickson, reporting from the state capitol. Back to you, Lindsay.
Ordinarily, in South Dakota, convicted felons do not have a right to vote until they have served their debt to society. Recently, in the House Local Government Committee, HB 1247 was debated. The bill would help clarify who can vote and when. Now reporter Andy Heck brings us this report on the bill.
House Bill 1247 would make it clear when a convicted felon can again gain the right to vote. I caught up with Representative Gene Abdallah, who supports the bill, to find out why. Hi, I'm now reporter Andy Heck, here with Representative Gene Abdallah. Mr. Abdallah, today we just left the hearing on House Bill 1247 about the right of convicted felons to vote, and I had some questions for you. So our first question is, what is the current law regarding the rights of convicts to vote?
Well, in South Dakota, the current law is that felons, convicted felons that are in the penitentiary cannot vote, that are incarcerated cannot vote. However, if they're on probation or parole, the current law says they could vote. And we felt that that wasn't a fair deal because some that are serving time and that are paroled haven't paid their debt to society until they come off of parole or probation.
All right, our next question. How does this bill change the way that the voting process will work for convicts?
Well, this bill will make it, will level the playing field. Anyone convicted of a felony in South Dakota must complete their complete sentence before they're able to vote again.
All right, the next question. What does this bill aim to accomplish in South Dakota?
Well, it's just a fairness issue. Like I said, someone that's in the penitentiary cannot vote, and according to the law the way it is now, if a judge, for whatever reason, felt that somebody, rather than go to the penitentiary, should be on probation, maybe to allow them to support their family and not put a hardship on their family, they're still a convicted felon, and they should not be able to vote until they've completed their sentence.
All right, final question. Do you anticipate any difficulty in the transition of this law?
Not at all. Not at all. The Secretary of State is on top of it, and he supports the bill, and I don't see any problems.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The current language is confusing and unclear. For example, if Tim, Jack, and Brady are all convicted of the same felony, Tim is sent to the state penitentiary. Jack serves no time and is given a suspended infant sentence. Brady goes to the county jail. In this case, Tim and Jack lose their right to vote, but Brady doesn't. 1247 will clarify that a person who is serving any sentence for a felony conviction, whether the sentence included probation, parole, jail, or prison, cannot vote. When their sentence is complete, they can register to vote again. In other words, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, if for example, a person is convicted of a felony, sentenced to the penitentiary for, say, 5 years, serves 3 years, is paroled, House Bill 1247 would exclude him from voting until he has finished his parole.
HB 1247 passed out of the committee with a 10-3 do pass recommendation and will be heard on the floor of the House soon. For Now at WHS, I'm Andy Heck, reporting from the state capitol.
Each year during the legislative session, high school students from across the state come to Pierre to do their part to make the session run smoothly. Now reporter Austin Nelson caught up with one of these pages with a WHS connection and brings us this profile.
Thanks, Lindsay. While reporting on the legislative session recently, we encountered WHS senior Lucas Peterson, who was serving as a page during his current session. He told us more about the page program.
Hi, I'm now reporter Austin Nelson here with senior Lucas Peterson talking about his experience as a page. What enticed you to be a page?
Well, I guess just an interest in government. I've always wondered how the state government works, and I wanted to learn more about it, so I decided to sign up.
And who are you staying with here in Pierre?
My dad's former intern, Amanda Dodson. My dad was a legislator, and she was his intern, and they've lived in Pierre. She's worked at the Capitol a lot, and so I just called her up when I found out I was going to be a page.
And when did you leave WHS, and when will you be returning?
Well, I left Sioux Falls on Sunday the 5th, and I'll get back after President's Day.
And what's your favorite part about being a page?
I'd have to say listening to the sessions, hearing the different bills that come through, and listening to debates.
Have you learned a lot about government while being a page here in Pierre?
Definitely. There's lots of stuff that you don't think goes on, stuff you don't, realize all what it takes to put together a bill, what it takes to get a law passed, and how many bills come through the legislature. I believe it's about 500 come through the legislature each year. So, there's quite a few, and not that many make it through. So it's interesting to watch.
Would you ever consider a career in politics from what you've learned here in Pierre?
Definitely. I think it'd be a lot of fun to come up here as a representative or a senator and serve. There's a lot of great people up here from around the state, and you get to learn a lot about other parts of the state, not just from Sioux Falls, or if you're from a small farming community. There's a lot of problems the state faces that not every single community. So it's fun to watch everyone come together and work, and I'd definitely like to be a part of that.
And do you have any fascinating facts that most people don't know about the Capitol?
Well, there is a boiler room in the basement of the Capitol, and it has tunnels running to all the outbuildings, including cross streets. And during the winter, those steam tunnels will actually heat the ground, and so there is a path where there's no snow or ice, and so you can tell where those are to the outbuildings.
Great, thank you very much.
Peterson was sponsored by Senator Joni Cutler as a page. He said he has been inspired by the experience and by his father's term in the state legislature to consider a career in politics himself someday. For Now at WHS, I'm Austin Nelson reporting from the state capitol. Back to you, Lindsay.
Should all occupied hunting blinds in the state be required to display blaze orange for safety? Supporters of House Bill 1252 think so. Now reporter Shannon O'Connor caught up with one of the supporters and the Secretary of Game, Fish, and Parks, who thinks it is not necessary, and brings us this report.
A blaze orange safety marker seems like a required piece of equipment for hunters, but do hunters who are hiding in a big game blind need to also display the color on the outside of that hideout? Representative Peggy Gibson thinks so, and sponsored a bill to require it. I spoke to her and to Jeffrey Vonk, the Secretary of Game, Fish, and Parks for the state who does not, to learn more. Hi, I'm now reporter Shannon O'Connor here with Representative Peggy Gibson from Huron, representing District 22, proponent on a House Bill 1252. What do you think this bill is about?
This bill is about placement of fluorescent orange material on top of a hunting blind. And by hunting blind, manufactured hunting blind, I mean something that is camouflaged on the ground, and hunters get in the hunting blind so that they can hunt big game animals from inside the blind.
Okay, why is this bill so important?
It's an important safety measure, and what I'm requiring on House Bill 1252 is to put some fluorescent orange on the top of the blind, or at least on all four areas of the blind, so that if another hunter is out hunting in the area, they can see that it's a blind rather than shooting into the area and actually killing someone that other than an animal.
Okay, does this pertain to all types of hunting?
Just big game hunting, not turkey hunting, because in turkey hunting you have to have absolute camouflage, and it's a different type of hunting than big game hunting, because big game hunting encompasses a much broader, longer area. And this is a constituent bill that I was asked to bring because one of my big game hunters was out hunting in a field, and he aimed his rifle over into a set of trees, and if it hadn't been for a little open area in one of these concealed hunting blinds, camouflage hunting blinds, and he saw a little orange go by the window, somebody would have he would have shot into that area and maybe killed someone. So I see this as a safety measure for all hunters.
Okay, why do you think it needs to be a law?
I think it needs to be a law because once you put in a law, most people will abide by it, and some people still won't do it. It's just like a speeding law. Sometimes people speed and disobey the law, but for the most part, people want to be law-abiding and abide by the law, and I definitely see this as a safety measure for our hunters in the state of South Dakota.
All right. Thank you.
For hunter safety, brought to you by one of my Beetle County hunters who is very concerned about safety in our county, and he was out hunting one day and aimed his gun in a tree strip and was ready to shoot, except for he saw a little bit of orange flashing by the inside of a blind. So he asked me to have a law in place requiring hunters to have fluorescent lights on their blinds because they are intended to be camouflaged, but he was absolutely scared to death after he almost shot into this blind.
Hi, I'm now reporter Shannon O'Connor here with Department Secretary Jeffrey Vonk regarding House Bill 1252. Why did you think this bill was unnecessary?
I think in this day and age, most hunters are very safety conscious. This bill would have put into state law an element that is common sense and should be left up to the discretion of the individual hunter.
All right, and how could a hunter prevent being mistaken as an animal without having these blinds with the orange material?
The blinds serve the function of hiding the hunter. Most animals and other hunters key in on movement. So we do have a state law that requires hunters, as they're out hunting big game, to wear fluorescent orange on their body. Once they enter one of these blinds, it's unlikely that either an animal or another hunter will see the movement, and therefore it probably isn't necessary.
And why did you oppose this bill?
Again, our opposition strictly lies in the notion of putting a common sense idea into a state law and taking away the discretion of the hunter. There are many situations in South Dakota, in fact the majority of situations in South Dakota, where hunting occurs on private lands. Private landowners basically have control of what happens on their lands, and we were opposed based on the notion of putting something into statute that we consider to be unnecessary.
Thank you.
However, I can't support this concept as a regulatory mandate based on additional regulation in state law. In essence, not all good ideas need to be put into a state statute. As you all know, the vast majority of South Dakota is privately owned. As such, much of the big game hunting takes place on private lands. Requiring private landowners and their guests to mark their manufactured blinds with blaze orange adds a burden and an expense to those individuals who may well be hunting several miles from the next closest hunter. Most landowners know who's out on their land and where they're hunting.
The House Agricultural and Natural Resources Committee agreed with Vonk that the bill was not needed at this time and deferred the measure to the 41st day, effectively killing the measure. For now, at WHS, I'm Shannon O'Connor, reporting from the state capitol. Back to you, Lindsay.
$100 seems like a lot of money to risk at one time, but a measure heard recently in the Senate Commerce and Energy Committee says it is not enough to lure big-time gamblers to the state. Now reporter Jack Noctegal caught up with a supporter of higher gambling limits to learn more.
Thanks, Lindsay. Currently in Deadwood, gamblers can lay down a maximum first bet of $100. Supporters of Senate Bill 108 think that limit should be increased to $1,000. I caught up with Caleb Arsenal, CAO of ISIS, hospitality to learn why he supports the higher limit at his casinos. Hi, I'm Jack Knoxville here with Caleb Arsenault from Rapid City. And Caleb, what does Bill 108 entitle?
It's a bill that will increase the bet limits in Deadwood, South Dakota from $100 to $1,000.
And did you support or oppose this bill?
I supported the bill. The gaming industry has grown over the recent years, and we're trying to. We've come upon some tough times with the economy. We've had a recent smoking ban. We've had some other things happen that have really cut into revenues. So, in an effort to spur our business, we're looking to increase this bet limit so we can market to other patrons in surrounding communities that we weren't able to before because they're looking for maybe a little larger action in the casino. Colorado, namely, is our best opportunity to do that, and they just recently had some Proposition 50, which was passed that allowed them a competitive advantage over our casinos in South Dakota. So basically, we're looking to try to lead rather than follow, and to help spur the industry.
Okay, and how would this bill affect gaming in Deadwood?
Well, the plan is to help enhance it, enhance our product, give us additional games that we can offer, give us additional marketing opportunities that we can bring people into the state of South Dakota and Deadwood so that everyone can benefit, a win-win situation.
Thank you.
Ask for your support in terms of a marketing tool that we can use for Deadwood. We've had a just under a 5% decline year over year in fiscal year 2011, and Deadwood's hurting. We need a little bit of help. This would allow us to get into some other markets, namely Colorado, who, as you I'm sure know, in 2008 passed Proposition 50. And that allowed 24-hour gaming, commensurate with our product. It also added craps and roulette, which we cannot have in Deadwood, and increased the bet limit from $5 to $100. So that being said, they now have a competitive advantage over our state and Deadwood in particular.
Supporters of the bill say the higher limit will bring more tourists to Deadwood and have little downside. SB 108 passed out of the committee with a unanimous do pass recommendation and will be heard on the floor of the Senate soon. For now, at WHS, I'm Jack Knoxville reporting from the state capitol. Now back to you, Lindsay.
It's time now for the Gordon Report, a look at what's on the mind of Now Daily Editor Jack Gordon. Jack could not be with us in Pierre, but Now Managing Editor Cole Mayer is here to fill in and talk to us about how laws get made during the legislative session. Here's Cole with the Gordon Report.
Hello, Warriors, and welcome to a special edition from the state capitol in Pierre of the Gordon Report. I'm Cole Mayer, filling in for Jack Gordon, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about how bills become laws. When making laws, the first thing you need to do is come up with an idea, and with that idea, you need to write it down on paper. Then you contact your representative or your senator and have them sign on it. With their signature, they will get other senators and representatives to sign on to that. And with that, it's brought to committee. Once your bill has many representatives and senators' signatures, it'll be passed on to a committee meeting open for public testimony for pro or against the new bill. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what that committee meeting looks like. Now we have Chairman Gullickson and her secretary, Representative Noctegal, and Representative Heck.
The committee meeting for the House Representatives on Education will now commence. Our first bill will be House Bill 10000, requiring all classrooms to have a cotton candy machine available for their students at all times. So we are going to open the floor up to some public testimony. Do we have any proponents? Please state your name.
Chairman, Senators, I'm Austin Nelson, and I believe that cotton candy will both wake up kids and encourage more attendance to their morning classes and overall improve test scores. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Proponents? No? Okay, we'll open the floor to any opponents.
Chairman, Chairman, committee members, I'm Jamie Johnson. I would have to oppose this bill because I feel that health is a very big concern in our school system. And when we have cotton candy machines in classrooms in the morning, we're promoting bad health behavior. I think we have a large problem with obesity in America today, so we need to work on that. So it's not a good idea to have an unhealthy food in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents? Opponents? No? All right, we'll close the floor to public testimony, but we will open it to some committee questions.
I have a question for Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nelson, what would the flavors of cotton candy be?
I think that would be up to a student vote, considering we're in a democratic nation, but I would suspect that blue raspberry and cherry would probably be the most likely candidates.
Good choices.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, permission.
I would also like to ask a question to Mr. Nelson. Now, Mr. Nelson, how exactly do you propose we fund these candy machines?
I'm sure we can configure a tax amount and get that approved through the Senate.
I'm sure we will. Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
All right, any more questions? No? Okay, we are going to close the floor to questions. Any discussion from the committee members on this? Any ideas?
Madam Chairman, I would like to vote to do pass.
I second that motion.
All right, we have a move and a second here. We are going to take a vote on passing this bill. Optical?
Aye.
Heck?
Aye.
Gullickson? Aye. All right, we have voted, and the majority of 3-0 passed the House Bill 10000. There will now be cotton candy in all classrooms, and that is our last bill, so meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
In a committee meeting, bills are either defeated or passed through a do pass recommendation. From the committee, it is moved on to the floors of the House of Representatives or the Senate. As you see here, the Senate is currently voting and discussing on bills that have been passed through committees onto the floor. Once the bills have been passed through both houses, the Representatives and the Senate, it is moved on to the governor, who will either veto it or sign it. And that's how you get a law. I'm Colmer, and that was the Gordon Report.
Thanks, Cole. It's been great visiting the state capitol this week, but we're anxious to get back to WHS and report on what's going on there. Look for our next regular episode of Now at WHS March 16th when we return to Washington High School. Until then, feel free to check out all our work, including our award-winning daily newspaper, on our website at whsnow.com. I'm your host, Lindsay Herbert, at the State Capitol in Pierre, reminding you to have a great day the Warrior way. See you soon. Goodbye.